You've actually been speaking to the ambassador, the Venezuelan ambassador in South Africa. What's she saying about South Africa supporting the country?
Shahani, it was a very wide-ranging interview with the ambassador, but of course there was a great deal of appreciation. We know that South Africa serves within the UN Security Council, so Pretoria has really thrown its weight behind President Maduro. And of course we know there's a political stalemate where you have the opposition leader also claiming the presidency. But if we can just take a listen to the ambassador now.
We have the support of South Africa. We have the support of our friends, and we request to the support of all the world. Well, we don't want a war in our country. Venezuela is a peace country. The people in Venezuela, we don't want war. We don't want a confrontation. We don't want confrontation. We can resolve our problem. We don't want interference to other countries. We are a free and sovereign country, and we want to resolve our own problem in our house.
So Kaya, it's interesting listening to what she has to say, especially since the U.S. is threatening to impose sanctions on Maduro and Venezuela overall, given his re-election, which they say they have a problem with. Donald Trump actually spoke a little earlier, so let's listen to what he had to say, and then we'll chat a bit further.
Y hago responsable a Donald Trump de cualquier violencia que pueda suceder en Venezuela. ¿Será usted, señor presidente Donald Trump, responsable de esta política de cambio de régimen en Venezuela? Y la sangre que pueda correr en Venezuela será sangre que estará en sus manos, presidente Donald Trump. La sangre será la sangre que estará en sus manos, presidente Donald Trump. ¿Es usted el responsable o que no dé la cara? ¿Es usted el responsable o que mande a John Bolton, a Mike Pompeo, a Mike Pence? ¿Es usted? ¿Tendrá las manos llenas de sangre usted si llevan a Venezuela a una violencia parcial o generalizada?
So that's, of course, Nicolas Maduro responding to what Donald Trump has said. You also spoke to the ambassador about this. What's she saying?
Well, she's making a lot of accusations. She's talking about the fact that, when you look at the reserves of oil, so Venezuela is one of those countries where they have quite a massive amount of oil. But, of course, she talked about the impact of the economic blockade that was slapped by the U.S. towards her country. So talking about the impact of saying, as much as they have a hyperinflation, which is almost about 1.3 million, so that's really staggering. So really pointing to those concerns. But of course, the economic sanctions will not be helping the situation. But also talking, Shahan, about the impact that this has had on the country. We know that Venezuela is trying so hard to diversify its economy.
What is the South African government saying about its support for Venezuela, despite the pressure and criticism it's received over this decision?
We know that for some time South Africa has always been speaking about its foreign policy anchored on human rights. So others do talk about the very violation of human rights under the regime of President Maduro. But also from the side of Pretoria, the minister has stated in no uncertain terms that South Africa supports President Maduro since he was elected in May. And we know he was inaugurated on the 10th of January. So Pretoria has been so vociferous in calling for the law and order to prevail in Caracas, but also pointing to the issue of saying they won't allow any change of government unconstitutionally.
Yeah, but then the criticism is that South Africa is ignoring the plight and pain of Venezuelans who have suffered under this government for so long.
Well, it's a very valid concern because now you have about 3 million Venezuelans who are, moving out of the country. So it's really just calls on South Africa really to scrutinize its relations and really to look into this particular matter. But Shahan, it's a very complex affair. It's almost like a play out of a Cold War where you have Russia, for example, backing Venezuela and the U.S. totally against the Maduro regime. So it's really interesting as to how it's going to play out. And others go as far as saying the U.S. is backing a coup in Venezuela. And a lot of people really are talking about the interference that you're seeing from a number of Western countries predominantly who are really outspoken about this particular regime.
All right, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. We'll leave it right there. Our reporter, Kayali Kumalo.